long time ago, I traded mortgage-backed securities, and that was right before this thing called the Great Financial Crisis. And I worked for a great company that was really trying to do good stuff with it, but it was tough, and we were all kind of lost. And I decided at that time to go to graduate school, and I said I should go and try to make the world a bit better. And I became very inspired by social responsible investing. Social responsible investing at the time was just like, how do we use technology and value systems to create metrics to shift equities, bonds, real estate towards a better future for us all? And I was like, I'm in. I'm totally in. And the more that I dug into that work, I started to do my PhD in the Netherlands. I dug more and more into real estate, and then deconstructing what it took for these transformations, like the literal engine of making good stuff happen, work. And that's how I dug into real estate innovation, real estate technology, like technology, not company technology, like real technology, to really make these interventions happen. And so the more I studied interventions generally, the more I discovered, oh, there's a lot of interventions going on in the built environment at the same exact time for lots of different value systems. And a lot of really good stuff. And I looked to my architects, my planners. They're not mine, but they're our worlds. They are amazing. An urban designer, an architect synthesizes from our like hopes and wishes and dreams a future that we want to be a part of, and usually we want to be a part of. And so I look to the technologies that they want to employ. I look to all of the amazing engineers and scientists who are creating new materials and new techniques, and ultimately arrived at MIT about 8 years ago. And since then I've been working on real estate innovation and technology more broadly, and then everything that we need to be able to drive that engine for our sector since then. And so we founded the lab now, I think this week, 3 years ago. The lab is a research and development anchor for the built environment. So we're really focused on the R&D side of things. So big picture questions, and setting up projects and prototypes to be able to ask larger questions that it's not sometimes financially feasible for the wider industry to do, or they don't have the broad scope of human capital that, say, MIT does at any given point in time. We're housed actually in the Center for Real Estate at the School of Architecture and Planning. And so it's a little bit different than a lot of different real estate programs, because normally we would just look at the buildings as an asset class. And in this group, we look at it as it's a building. And we really need to understand its financial mechanisms as a group of stakeholders that coalesce together to negotiate a building. And that's really what the asset pricing of it then ultimately becomes. So in that framework, coming back to actually even what my PhD is in, I'm a financial econometrician, financial economist, and I do asset valuation. So I do statistics about what a building is worth and what derives that value. And then I'm joined in this amazing lab. I love all of these people, they're great humans, by technologists, lawyers, urban designers, computational architects, computational planners. I even have someone who's now working on the team who's a virtual world specialist who's looking at real estate in virtual worlds. It's a broader sort of perspective on what the change is looking like in the built environment, and then utilizing various techniques of statistics, design, engineering, technology studies, of course finance and economics, to be able to answer questions about what is the change and how do we measure it so that different groups of people can take it on. If I think about the pillars in the lab, so we have 5 core research questions, what we try to tackle, and by far these are not all of the questions that need to be answered, but they all hit at the larger question of helping to resolve climate change and autonomous futures. These are two big challenges, and we see that ways to do that are aligning designers and financiers to be able to make good buildings. And so that's the value of design projects. And so that's one way that we try to answer that question. Two, having a data science ecosystem or perspective or approach to your business. And so we have the wide data experiment and the valuation of innovative real estate products. So we try to help everybody move along to understand, the risk and return of engaging in these strategies, and the value proposition's good for change. We work on understanding ultimately how entrepreneurship, cities, places, and people come together to create like agglomeration, like true productive economic systems in cities, and how does the building help that? So how do accelerator programs, how do co-working spaces, how does the density of these entrepreneurial startups like operating in these buildings, how does this actually help with economic growth, and then how can a building owner or landlord help support and cultivate those ecosystems? So we have a whole pillar, we work on that, we have a lot of projects there. We work on trying to understand what is the data science ecosystem that we need to actually have in place. So we have something called the wide data experiment, where we have 4,000 variables for every single building in Manhattan, and then we utilize that to sort of drive this valuation ecosystem, but also teach us about what does data science for real estate look like. And we have a lot of peers in this space that have grown up around us and with us, companies that have donated data to the lab with great data scientists on those teams that help us to answer those types of questions. And then I would say, lastly, one of my favorite things that we ultimately do is try to work on deconstructing what all of these words mean. And that comes back to the Tech Tracker project and the autonomous future of real estate. And that's something that we have flagship projects with EY and JLL to answer. So with JLL, we work on this technology tracker to try to deconstruct what do these technology words mean, really dig into how they're going to impact the built environment, what are their embedded technologies, what's holding them up, what's pulling them forward, where they're at in their development and growth, and ultimately that they, where are they in their part of being part of our life. And then I would say finally with that EY project, which I absolutely adore, is really exploring what the autonomous future of real estate is for us. And so, a lot of economists focus on what is automation, and I love and respect those economists. I think they do really interesting work, but I'm trying to bring it back along with the team to say, what's going on with us? What's going on with the built environment? And we have a tricky asset. It's a 100-year asset. How is automation going to mess with this? So that is the technology tracker project, and within that has three views or three perspectives of how you can engage with technology in our tool. And one thing that we're working on, we're in beta 1.0 stage, is we're looking at what technologies are rising or making a lot of activity or noise. And so what the chart is trying to do is capture events. Not necessarily when somebody mentions it, although that's important, but more a thesis was written about it, a PhD dissertation was published, a company was founded, funding got achieved, a patent occurred. So we're rounding up all of these different types of events, and we're utilizing those as ways to say, it's rising over time versus it's losing it's not losing traction, but it's decreasing relative to the others. That's all. It's actually not decreasing in terms of going into something that we're saying, you're not great anymore. It's just not engaging in a lot of activity at the moment, which happens to all things over time. I would say that there is definitely a proportion of private sector individuals and private sector companies that I've been fortunate enough to engage with that, they're moving, they're on it, they care. And especially because of these two big things, climate change and automation, they're like, we're stronger together, right? So they're like, let's figure out how to work together to figure out what are immediate and long-term potential solutions to some of these issues. Solutions are hard to come by, but betterment for larger and larger proportions of our world is the goal. So I think what I see on a day-to-day basis is a lot of people trying. I'm fortunate that it's a very one-off situation where I'm struck by somebody who's really trying to hold things back. They usually don't seek out the director of MIT's Real Estate Innovation Lab. I'm not their primary audience. They don't really. They want to work with, I guess, other obstructors, not somebody who's trying to help with change. So our team is all about helping, contributing, growing this army of humans who can help with climate change and automation. So that's what we're about. So we don't meet many people who are not interested in that, luckily.